the defining moment for me. I was 35 years old. It was 10 and a half years ago. And I had open heart surgery unexpectedly. I had to have a bypass surgery. And I think it was in that moment for me that I realized, hey, you know what? Like a vapor, here
Yeah.
today, gone tomorrow. And I
Right.
had three young kids, and I had a wife, and I had all of these responsibilities. And I realized that, you know what, I could kill 2,200 inch deer. And none of that matters at the end of the day. Like, it
Right.
really doesn't matter. And so, when you lay in bed the night before your open heart surgery and you write out your funeral because your grandmother passed away on the table having open heart surgery, your aunt passed away at 40 from complications, your uncle has had 16 stents put in and two open heart surgeries,
Wow.
and all genetic. You start looking at things a little different.
You're listening to the Dirt School Podcast. I'm your host, Casey Johnson, and if you like hunting, fishing, country stories, and learning lessons from those who live their lives in rural America, you're going to love this podcast. Brought to you by Hunt Real Outdoors. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Dirt School Podcast. Got a special guest on here today that I'm excited to be catching up with, and you guys are going to get the opportunity to listen to he and I catch up a little bit. It's been a minute, but we've got Chad Holmes from Midwest Whitetail on today. Chad, thank you for being on today, my friend.
Yeah, man, appreciate you having me. Been looking forward to catching up. It's been a minute.
Yeah, it's been a minute. You texted me the other day and you was like, "Hey, how's my friend doing, man? It's been a while." And so we text back and forth, and then I took the opportunity to say, "Hey, I need to have you on my podcast here." So we worked it out within a week. So ain't that amazing?
I love it. I
Yeah.
love it. Looking
Most things
forward
don't
to it.
work out that quick.
No, they don't. That
Yeah.
is a fact.
Yeah. Well, look, man, before we get into all of our deep conversation that we're going to have, kind of maybe give an introduction of yourself so that anybody who doesn't know who you are that might be watching or listening can kind of get an idea of who you are, what you do in all forms and fashions, and maybe even tell them how you got from being a pro staff person at Midwest Whitetail to now working for Midwest Whitetail. So let us know
Yeah,
that.
yeah. It's a unique story for sure. Just kind of rewind. I've been in ministry for over 20 plus years now, and my wife and I've been married 26 years. We got three kids and a grandbaby. It's and I say that to say, rewinding back, early on in our marriage, I pick at my wife all the time, and I've gotten into the doghouse a little bit about this, but part of our vows was, honey, I hunted before I met you now, so I'll probably be hunting when you're no longer around. But
That's a
anyway,
good
my
vow to make.
yeah, right. Go ahead and get it out there, right? Nah, that's totally a joke. I did not say that. But she knew I loved the outdoors and loved to hunt. And so, we've been in ministry since 99, and some type or form of ministry since 99. That's when I started the licensing process through Lee University. But with that being said, I've always had a love for the outdoors. My dad, the first time he ever took me, I was 4 or 5 years old. He carried me on his shoulders. He just took me to the woods, and I'll never forget it. From that moment on, I just kind of fell in love with just being outside, and whether it was hunting or fishing or whatever it was. And so, as time went on, I got more and more. I don't want to use the word addicted, but I got addicted, to the outdoors. I loved it, and so throughout my ministry, we always utilized the outdoors as part of the ministry of our church and the things that we done. So, I started pastoring, got my first church in '04, and started pastoring then, and incorporating those things. And we fast forward on to 2010, and I was watching Bill Winky. I was always a Bill Winky fan.
Yep.
And every Sunday night after service, I would go home to my office. And, at that time, he had created his website, and he was doing semi live on the website. And part of the vision that he had for Midwest Whitetail was to expand his pro staff. Early on, my good friend Thad DeMoss was Bill's first cameraman up in Albia when they got going, and so Bill went from just himself to bringing in interns to developing a pro staff, and then eventually developing the regional pro staff which is where I came into play. You know, so many others came into play to be a part of that regional team, and it was on a Sunday night. I'll never forget it. I went in and he made that announcement at the end of the show that, hey, we're looking to kind of get into the southeast. We want to build that part of the region as well. And long story short, we I sent a little email. I said, "Hey, man, here's kind of my background. This is what I do, and I'd love to be a part of it if it works out." And of course, in my mind, I'm thinking like, there ain't no way. There's so many thousands of people who want to be a part of that team. I'm probably not ever even going to see an email back. And literally within just a couple of minutes, responded right back and said,
Come
"Hey,
on.
man, send me in, some kind of like any content you've put together, or whatever, And so of course I'm in awe at this point. Like, I'm trying to. Next morning, I'm up at daylight. I've got a video put together. I'm overnighting at the Albia. I'm trying to get all of this stuff done, and long story short, he ends up responding back, and they're like, "Hey, yeah, man, we're gonna give you a shot. Be on the developmental pro staff, whatever." And then so that's where it kind of started, and then several years later, most people know Bill sold out, and there was some new ownership there, and the new ownership, I met at one of our summer meetings, which we do every year, and one of the owners came to me and said, "Hey, man, I'd be interested in you, coming and being a part of the team, more on a full-time basis." And I said, "Well, right now just ain't a good time." So we just kind of put it off, and a year or so later, we got back in contact again. The subject came up again. The timing was right. It ended up working out, and so I ended up accepting the job, and as Paul Harvey says, now you kind of know the rest of the story, and life's been good, and we've been able to put together a solid team. I mean, we're having one of the best seasons we've ever had this year. I mean, it's almost like chasing October instead of chasing November, because we've had so many successful hunts already, and we're just halfway into November. But my role with Midwest Whitetail now has changed some. When I first came on, I was sort of overseeing everything day to day, and then that transition was able to get Josh Sparks back, and Josh has come in and done a phenomenal job with the day-to-day operations, and just creating or adding to that core group that we had. The culture that's been created from the very beginning when Bill started it, and so he's doing a phenomenal job. And with that being said, I've kind of eased back, behind the scenes, and handle more of the financial side of things. And so that's kind of where I'm at with the company now. And I also pastor a church. So I stay pretty busy these days, but just so blessed, to be able to do two things that I love. Number one, sharing Jesus. That's the most important thing. But number two, that love or that desire that I've always had for the outdoors. The Bible tells us that if we just trust the Lord and give God everything that we have, He'll also give us the desires of our heart. And I think that's really what's happened here is He knew the desire and love that I had for the outdoors. And because of our faithfulness to Him through ministry, He's given me this opportunity. And I definitely don't take it for granted.
Yeah, and I think that's that's where I'm at. And, I think that's why you and I get along so well is just the ministry side of things plus the outdoor side of things, and then trying to, mix those two things together, because I think that it's a great place for those things to mix, because hunters are people that are up close and personal with God's creation. And so it's kind of hard to, I just got back from Kansas, 7 days there, and just thinking, when I'm on a deer stand and the sun's coming up in the morning and you hear all of nature waking up in the morning, it's kind of hard to deny the creator. And it's hard to look out there and not think about the Lord. And so it's a great avenue, a great place, a great lane to be able to share Jesus with people. And it seems to me like more and more people are doing that in the outdoor industry now, and I'm grateful for that. And that's one of the things that I wanted to do with this podcast, is to be able to talk to guys who are good at their craft and good at doing what they do, but also have a lot of guys on here. Not everybody's going to be a Christian, but have a lot of guys on here that are Christians, and we can have that conversation about Jesus, and we can have that conversation about how God has blessed us and all that kind of stuff. So it's kind of an interesting thing. But I want to touch on something that you said, because this is how I actually got involved with you, was through Midwest Whitetail and being on that Southeast regional show. And I tell people to this day, I love Midwest Whitetail. I mean, I watch all the episodes. I've been keeping up with all the guys as they kill the. I was excited about Josh this past week when that episode came out and he killed that deer. You could see the genuine excitement in his face, man, as he shot that deer and knew he got that deer down. So I keep up with all of that stuff, and I was on the Southeast region, but now the the Southeast region really has kind of gone away per se, correct? And so it's no longer there. It's kind of intermingled with the rest of the stuff, right?
Correct. That
Yeah,
is correct. So we
yeah,
basically we still have people from the Southeast region, but we've
yeah.
just created a regional channel.
Right.
And so the best hunts from each regional team member now goes on to that one channel. So instead of saying, oh, we've got Great Plains or we've got Southeast or, we've got, the Heartland, now we just have the regional. And I
I
think
got
it's
you.
worked really well. And that way, everybody, and there's, it's kind of twofold. Number one, you're getting great hunts from all across the country. And Rye's doing a phenomenal job with that. He is the one producing those shows each and every week, but it also lets some eyeballs get, it kind of builds you as far as an individual up across the entire country. Because if somebody says Southeast, and let's just be honest, when you think Southeast, you think piney wood, little bitty bucks, 100 inches, whatever the case may be. And those are just as fun to hunt, especially if you can kill a 4 or 5, 6 year old buck in the South. That's a huge deal. But
Right.
on the flip side of that, now all of a sudden, instead of a guy just overlooking that video because it's labeled Southeast, now the guy from Iowa can watch the guy from Alabama or Tennessee or, whatever the case. And it builds, it kind of builds their identity as well across the country as an outdoorsman
Yeah.
or an outdoors woman, So
Yeah, and that's great. And I saw some videos the other day on that, and I kind of thought I hadn't talked to you guys about doing that, but I thought that that's what y'all had done, is like just threw one show out there that's regional, and just like you said, because honestly, like whenever I got out of Midwest Whitetail and just went back to doing my own thing, and for anybody that's listening, I already had my own thing before I joined Midwest Whitetail and kind of mixed the two together, but I was struggling with the fact that it was so hard to produce content for the Southeast, and then it was hard to mix what you kill in the Southeast with what they kill in the Midwest. Exactly like you're talking about. It's like, you're watching these guys on Midwest Whitetail kill these 150, 60, 70 inch bucks, 200 inch bucks. And then you're rolling up there with like a 110, like, got this baby tonight, boy. So I was like, it just didn't seem to fit for me in doing what I do. And then some of the ways you hunt here in the South, as opposed to the Midwest, with feeders and different things like that, which I do both. I hunt without feeders and with
right.
feeders, but it was different back then. So, but the way y'all are doing it now, that's very intriguing. That to me, that's very good, because now you don't know, you're just watching the regional show, and they may be somebody from anywhere,
Right.
you
That's
know.
exactly right.
Yeah, that's
Exactly.
good. That's a
So it's
good
worked
transition.
well. And,
Yeah.
and like I said, Rye's done a phenomenal job putting it together. I've enjoyed watching him and grow. Rye, he was an intern, which, we hired the following year after his internship, and being able to watch him grow and transition to the guy he is today has been fun to watch. And so I'm excited for him and Gavin both, just as they just good, man. They're just good. And
Yeah.
like I said, Josh has done a good job leading them and mentoring them to get to where they are, when it comes to the creativity of the editing process. So it's been good.
Well, I'll tell you this. I was watching a podcast. I think it was the Hunter podcast here. This was last year, I think, or whatever, maybe even more than that. But I was watching that podcast, and those guys were talking about Midwest Whitetail, and because I think they were maybe interviewing Bill or interviewing somebody that had something to do with Midwest Whitetail. But they got to talking about all of the people that are in the industry that actually got started with Midwest Whitetail or Bill Winky, and I'm like,
Yes.
good grief, you know?
Yeah, I'm telling you, he has been a pillar to the hunting community. He really has. That internship program has been, again, Bill's always been ahead of his time. I
Yeah,
mean, seriously, like the man was running semi-live shows on a website before we even knew what YouTube was. You know what I mean? It was
right.
like one of those deals. And then the internship again, was just one of those things. But you look at, like, I'll just use the hunting public for an example because that's just a great one. But you got Aaron and those guys that came in that were interns, and of course you got they've knocking it out of the park with with their the hunting public and the things that they're doing. You take Jared Mills, for example, doing a phenomenal job. Jared is one of the most creative guys I know. When it comes to self-filming, I don't know if there's anybody better in the industry than he is. And I'm a big fan of Jared,
Yeah,
and his what he's doing out there. And again, that's just two examples of and there's so many more, of course.
right.
But yeah, it's been wild. And to be able to of course, I've been in the mix since, almost, I guess, 15 years now. So for the
Wow.
last 15 years, watching the interns come in, whether they stayed or not, developing into, you know, where they're at today is has been awesome to watch. And just I'm super proud of all those guys. You don't get to talk to them as much as you'd like to, or whatever the case may be, but to know that you got to be, a small part, whether it was my terrible footage that I was sending in the early days that they had to try to edit and put out, or on the flip side, it's been good to watch those guys grow.
Well, and if you edit your videos, which I edit all of my stuff, if you edit your videos, then you really have a better understanding. You're like, oh gosh, I gotta wade through all of this, like
Oh my
300
gosh.
clips and figure out how to put all this together. But those guys get really good at it. And I mean, Midwest Whitetails footage is some of the best footage out there. And a lot of those interns that come in and learn and grow and leave and go to other places. I mean, it's just top notch stuff, and it's just
Yeah.
good stuff to watch. And I still enjoy watching, Bill's stuff. Bill's laid back. It's a lot of education involved in it. I mean, he does stuff every week, and he may not see very many, but it's been interesting to me to watch him try to develop that farm that he's got now, and how much
Yeah.
more difficult it is to hunt than the one he sold.
Right.
Like it's not as many deer, and it doesn't seem to be as big a deer as he had. I mean, like as many big deer as he had on that other farm. But I know he took years to develop that farm, and this one he's just now getting started. But it's been cool to kind of watch that for me.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
it is. And what I like about it, like knowing Bill back in the Midwest Whitetail days versus him now, he's still doing a lot of the same things, but I like the way he's doing it now because it is just so raw.
right.
Like it might just be GoPro, hey, we're down here. He's coming out of the shed, jumping on the four-wheeler, going, and I like that because I think there's a lot of people who can relate to that. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? It's like and so I love watching that dynamic as well, and what he's doing. And so, yeah, he and I think he just put a tag on one here last week, if I'm not mistaken. So,
he did killed a
kudos
good
to
buck.
him.
Yeah,
Yeah. And
and he had one of his interns took him out on some public ground, and so he was
oh,
hunting on public one day. Yeah, so
yeah.
yeah,
I remember I used to call Bill and I'd be like, "Hey man, I got a speaking engagement if you want to come down and speak." And he was like, "Well, not right now." He said, "Let my kids get out of school and get graduated, and then we'll look at doing some of that." So, watching him now, do things a little differently than what
yeah,
he did in the beginning's cool to watch. And
yeah.
he's going rogue, man. Like he's got the tents underneath the tree stand and
I'm telling you,
sleeping in the woods and
slept in the
like
deer stand one night. Him
I
and
love it.
him and an intern slept in a redneck deer stand.
That's what
Uh,
I mean. We've had a lot of interns, but I don't think anybody ever got to experience that I
that's
know
right.
of.
That's
So
right.
that's cool stuff, man. That's cool
Yeah, it
stuff.
is good. Well, I got a couple of questions here I want to kind of ask you that just
Okay.
maybe kind of hone in on some things. One of them was how you got to work from where you are to where you're at now, and you described that. But here's the other thing that I want to ask you: how do you balance, like from a minister perspective? Okay, how do you balance a deep love for hunting, and yet and even you have a job that you're doing that as well, even though you're a pastor too, so you have multiple jobs. But how do you balance a deep love for hunting and the outdoors, and yet not let it become an idol? Now, let me say this before you answer the question. I know that some people are going to look at that and go, "Yeah, well, I'm not a preacher or whatever." But still, if you're a Christian, you are still not supposed to allow anything to become an idol in your life. And I tell people this all the time. Most things that I hate never become idols in my life. It's always stuff I love. And so, how do you balance a deep love for the outdoors, appreciation for the outdoors, do your job as an outdoorsman in the outdoor industry, and yet still go, but I can't make it an idol?
Right. Well, for me, I think, early on it was a lot harder than it is today. And believe it or not, I'm more busier today than I was then. But what's happened is I've realized it's all about prioritizing.
Yeah,
If for instance, I'll just give this example. If I wake up in the morning and the first thing that I do before I roll out of bed is grab my phone and check my cell camera, that ain't gonna work.
right,
I wake up, first thing I do in the morning, and I, if you walk in my bedroom, I've got like a little nightstand there, and I've got a daily devotional, and I have my Bible there. And the first thing that I do is I start my day off. I just thank the Lord for another day through prayer. That's the first thing, of course, I do. Then I pick up the daily devotional and then I grab my Bible, because what I'm normally doing is I'm already prepping. Like, I preach Sunday, I'm prepping Monday for the following week. We're doing a series right now, and I don't want to chase a rabbit here, but on the life of Joseph and how he got from the pit to the palace and all of those things. And so that's how I start my day. And then I get up, I get my shower, do whatever, get ready, and then I say, okay, all right, what do I've got to do first for work for Midwest Whitetail? Do I need to send an invoice? Do I need to follow up, on an invoice? Do I need to check that, check something with his partner, whatever the case may be? And I do that. And then I say, okay, let me check these trail cameras. Let me see what I got. But it has become understanding what to prioritize and when to prioritize it. And I think by doing that, that has really helped me um, make sure that Jesus is first and foremost in my life, my relationship, and then my family, and then work, right? And
right,
so, like you and I were talking prior to the podcast, 2025 has been the absolute busiest year of my life. We have had, in a good way, like it's been crazy, but it's just been blessing after blessing after blessing. And we had my youngest graduated, my middle child got married, my oldest, my daughter had our first grandbaby, we built a house, the Lord's blessed the church, we've had to remodel twice this year already. It's just been just a crazy busy time. And even in the midst of all of that, I never struggled. And I don't mean this like being boastful about it. I just mean it as, when I realized, as long as I prioritize Christ first, right? If I seek first the kingdom, right? Seek first the kingdom and its righteousness, and all these other things will be added unto you, right?
right.
And so, it gives the great, and I don't want to be all preachy or nothing, but this is where my foundation is. You asked the question, like,
That's
love
right,
the right, love the Lord your God with all your heart, your mind, your soul, and your strength. He said the second is just as important as the first. Love your neighbor as yourself. And then what happens? Everything else hangs in the balance.
right.
So when we seek him first, when we love him with everything, he finds a way to help us establish, right, our steps. And so, that's, I feel like that's what's helped me more than anything, and to keep that from becoming an idol. Because early on, man, the Lord has blessed me with some opportunities. I've been to New Zealand. I mean, multiple times. I've been all over the world, being able to do some things I never dreamed I'd be able to do. And then there was moments where I found myself struggling early on. Like, man, I really need to stay one more day. But if I stay one more day, then I'm gonna pull up at 6 o'clock in the morning, take a shower, and then go preach. And that's not right. I can't sacrifice the church because I want to kill a whitetail, I want to kill a red stag, or whatever it is. So early on, it was a struggle. But when I finally said, "Hey, I'm going to put him first. I am going to love him with everything," I realized I killed more deer. I had more stuff. My relationships were better. The whole 9 yards. So that's kind of, I guess, in a long roundabout way. I think that's how I've been able to keep it from being an idol.
And I think sometimes, outstanding answer, by the way. But I think sometimes too, and we'll just have to be very honest about this. When you're older, when you start getting older, when you get to that grandpa age, you start thinking some things a little bit differently. But when and I'll just call it like I see it. But when you're a young man, a lot of times, for many of us, when we were younger, we see the television screen with all these guys and all these hunting celebrities, and it becomes a dream of ours to do it. Like we want to do that because we love it so much, and we look at them, and you're not trying to put them on a pedestal. You're not trying to make them out as some idol in and of themselves, but you want to do it so bad. Like every hunter that I know sits around and thinks, man, it sure would be nice if I could just hunt for a living, or whatever. And I know there's a whole lot more to it than that, but it's like a dream. And when you're younger, you tend to chase that dream harder. And I think that's where, in many ways, it can become more of a temptation to make it an idol, where the older you get, the more you realize, hey, honestly, it's not all it's cracked up to be to do this for a living. Because I've learned this: the more you do it, the more you get aggravated about having to do it sometimes, and sometimes the work part of it takes the fun part of it out of it. And the older you
100%.
get, the more you start to learn the balance of, I can still do this and love it, but I still have responsibilities that I have to take care of in ministry. If you're in the ministry that I have to take care of. And so I've got to keep the balance.
Yeah, 100%. And I think social media has made it even harder because I mean constantly seeing it everywhere, and you're like, man, this guy's killing 150 inch in Kansas, and this guy's in Illinois, and he killed 170 inch, and this guy, he was in Kansas last week, and now he's over here in Texas, and and I think to me that makes it even worse. But I think the defining moment for me, I was 35 years old. It was 10 and a half years ago, and I had open heart surgery unexpectedly. I had to have a bypass surgery. And I think it was in that moment for me that I realized, hey, you know what? Like a vapor, here
Yeah,
today, gone tomorrow. And I
right.
had three young kids, and, I had a wife, and I had all of these responsibilities. And I realized that, you know what? I could kill 2,200 inch deer. And none of that matters at the end of the day. Like, it
Right.
really doesn't matter. And so, when you lay in bed the night before your open heart surgery and you write out your funeral because your grandmother passed away on the table having open heart surgery, your aunt passed away at 40 from complications, your uncle has had 16 stents put in and two open heart surgeries,
Wow.
and all genetic, you start looking at things a little different. And so when I woke up and I got out of, and here's the crazy story. If I'll share it real quick, but I actually was in ICU, got out of an ICU, was in a regular room for 2 days, and went home. And then, like 3 days after that, I had a follow up. Well, I had bought Kobe, my middle child, a Illinois shotgun or youth tag, and it was good for the first shotgun season. And prior to me knowing I had all these issues, I told him, I said, I'm gonna take you. Well, when I got out of when I got out of the hospital or out of the follow-up checkup, I asked the doctor, I said, can I drive? And he looked at me and he said, you feel like driving? And really, I didn't, but I was like, I think I can. And he said, if you think you could drive, man, like take off. I didn't tell him where I was going to drive to. I just, so anyway, I come home and my wife was irate. I said, I'm taking Kobe to Illinois. And it's the funniest. It's not it's funny now. It wasn't funny then, but when you have open heart surgery, they put these tubes inside your stomach. as kind of like a drainage or whatever. Well, we got to Arkansas. We left out. I was living in Alabama then, so we got from Alabama to Arkansas and went to get some gas. And where the tubes were, those incisions busted open.
Oh no.
And so, like, I'm getting paper towels. I'm in the restroom, and the guy walks in. He's like, "Oh my lord, somebody called the police, the ambulance. This man bleeding to death. He's been shot." I was like, "No, I'm good. I'm good." But by the time we got to Illinois, man, I was feeling awful. And at that point, I felt bad for Kobe. But we ended up, only by the grace of God, we made it through. He ends up shooting a deer that goes like 215. We got
Wow.
the trail cam pictures of him. He shot him. We couldn't find him. Never seen the deer again. But it's an experience like that he and I'll never forget. But I got to thinking about that because the first evening we hunted when we were trying to get back to the truck, I literally didn't think I was gonna make it. And again, it hit me. It hit me prior to having the surgery, and it hit me again. Even if Kobe kills this 215-inch deer, Chad, if you're not here to take care and be his father and his dad and help him become the man he needs to be, that 215-inch deer don't matter.
Wow.
And so it was just that was the moment. That was the defining moment for me that my whole mindset changed. And
Yeah.
I still love to hunt. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love it, but I don't love it enough to put my relationship with the Lord or my relationship with my family behind killing some kind of animal. So
Right. Yeah. Well, that's wisdom for sure. Right there, because putting all that before those two things has gotten a lot of people in some pretty bad binds, with their family and of course, with the Lord as well and things like that. So definitely some wisdom there. And I'm sure if guys will listen to this podcast and really take this to heart, there's guys out there that are saying, hey man, I struggle with that too. That's a good word for me because I'm constantly tempted to do that very thing. And again, it goes back to I'm never tempted with the bad things to make them idols. I'm always tempted with the things I love the most to make them idols. And even something like preaching can become an idol if I'm not careful. It can become about the stage instead of about Jesus, and I've got to be careful there and you do as well and other guys that preach too. Um Let me ask you this as far as the hunting, because obviously you have a church, you've got a congregation of people you have to take care of. I identify with that. You identify with that. That takes a lot of time depending on what's going on. You never know in the ministry when you're going to be needed, where you're going to be needed, what's going to happen. So there's always pins and needles in that regard. Then on top of that, you have a job with Midwest Whitetail that you have to work. But then on top of that, you want to hunt too. So, what does Chad's hunting schedule look like these days as far as where do you go? How much do you go? Stuff like that.
yeah, it is very last minute. Let me say that. It is look, and that's crazy for me because I like to operate off of a schedule. And in ministry that's hard to do because your schedule is constantly changing. But for me, I've been blessed with good staff, good support, and they realize that my mental health, my spiritual health is important. And a lot of times it's through me spending time by myself in the woods that helps me reset, refresh, renew myself so that I can be the pastor that I
Right.
need to be. So I have a good support system from the church side of things, and with Midwest Whitetail from the business side of things, I can work remotely. Of course, I don't have to be at the house as long as I have internet, and pretty much the places I hunt do. So I can work from wherever. But for me, what I get a very little amount of sleep during this time of the year, because what I'll do is, for instance, tonight or in the morning, we're leaving 3 o'clock in the morning, headed to Illinois. I'm hunting this year. I'm hunting Illinois, Kansas, and Texas. I got an invite to go to Texas, and so those are the three states I'll be hunting. A lot of years I'll hunt Missouri or draw Iowa. Next year I'll draw Iowa, so I'm excited about that. But for me, it's about, okay, I try to watch the weather, and if the weather aligns and nothing's pressing, at the at the church or at work that I've got to be a part of, I'll strike out. I'll drive all night. And I'll leave at 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock in the morning, drive all night, go straight to the deer stand, hunt 2 or 3 days, and then I'll come back, and it's one of those things that it might be for 2 days, it might be for 4 days. But again, every situation, and I think this is with anybody, every situation has a certain level of importance.
Right.
And, if I have a church member that is deathly ill, or a funeral or something, something to that effect, even if I've only been there 2 hours, I'm gonna pack up and turn around, come back. That's just part of it. But if somebody's got a sinus infection, I'm gonna say, Kobe, just check in, make sure everything's good, and let me know. And of course, I'll call or text and reach out. But it's just understanding the importance. And so for me, it's always last minute, and I never know if it's going to be 2 days or 4 days, when
Right.
I'm gone.
Right.
But you got to understand that going into it.
Sure, sure, 100%. And one thing we try to do at our church, and I'm thankful. Same thing as you're talking about. If you got a good church that understands you need that for your own mental, spiritual health, because that's something you love to do, and it's a release point for you. But also be understanding enough to know that when you're gone, that there's certain situations that other people can check on them. I try to tell them this all the time, and my congregation is great about this. But if such and such checked on you, it's me checking on you. Because we're all part of this one body. So if a deacon checked on you, or a staff member checked on you, or your Sunday school teacher checked on you, that's just like me checking on you, you know? And so that's worked out pretty good for us, and our people are very flexible in that. And I'm thankful for it. I'm thankful for it, because that can make or break you as a pastor if people aren't willing to allow that, and it can be very difficult. Well, do you have you've got a place close to home though you hunt too, huh?
Yeah, so I actually, in the South, hunting clubs are a big thing, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm in a couple of clubs here close to home. We live on 62 acres, and so I do have a play. I can walk out the back door. But for me, what I try to do is I try to utilize everything locally for my kids or kids in our church
Right.
that maybe have never killed a deer, but they want to be involved. One of the hunting clubs that I'm in is called One Shot, and we sponsor a kid during deer season, and we're going to do one in turkey season this year, where we spend the first weekend and take those kids out. And so I utilize a lot of the local stuff
Yeah.
for that. And again, I think it goes back to what you said. As you get older, things change. So if I can punch a tag in Illinois, I'm happy. And if I get another one in Kansas, and that's just a blessing. That's just kind of an extra blessing on top of being able to kill a deer. So
Sure.
for me, the local stuff here is more about how can I utilize what God's given me to help somebody else.
Right,
So
right. Well, there's different levels of deer hunters as well. In thinking about that, how do you manage let's just say you are hunting for yourself and not a kid around your house. How do you manage the fact that you've killed big deer in other states, Midwestern states and other places, does that change the way you like around your house? You're like, I'm just not going to shoot nothing because it ain't anything big, even though a big deer around here is here. It's not a big deer somewhere else. So I don't, because I'm going to be honest with you. Uh, I want to kill big deer, and I've killed some big deer, what I would consider big deer, 140, 50-inch deer. But I'm still also like an equal opportunity kind of guy, to the degree that I'm not shooting a 1.5 or 2.5 year old deer or anything like that. I just don't anymore. But if a real nice 3.5 year old comes out, and I'm hunting on places that are, it's a little small. It's not like it's managed places and everybody around. You know what I'm saying?
right,
Depending on the story, I'm gonna bust that joker if I want to. So
hundred
how do you
percent.
manage that hunting around in Mississippi, as opposed to I've killed all these bigger deer in these other places? I just don't feel like shooting. I mean, what do you do?
Well, I got kind of two answers to that. Number
Okay.
one, I always hunt age. I don't care
Yeah.
if it scores 80 inches.
Yeah.
If he's a mature deer,
Yeah.
that's kind of what I'm going after. It's
Yeah.
not about the score,
Yeah.
it's about the age
Yeah.
structure. And so, number one, I'm hunting age. But number two, I'm to my belief is this: as long as you obey all your state guidelines, whatever that is, because every state is different. Like I hunt in Kansas the last 2 years, the Lord's blessed me with two phenomenal bucks. And Kobe killed a 180-inch deer last year in Kansas with his bow, and it was over corn. And we usually don't, kind of get into that, but you know, I I just as long as it aligns with the laws of the state, I'm perfectly fine with it. And then on top of that, if it gets me excited,
Yeah.
I'm laying the hammer down.
Right.
Like, look, I had an instance not very long ago. I had a 5-year-old 10 point, and I had a decoy out, and I tell you, I drove to my stand at 2 o'clock, literally had my buddy drive me in the truck next to the where I was gonna hunt at on the ground. I took the decoy out, I threw my backpack and it on the ground, I set the decoy up, whatever, sprayed a little Conquest in on the buck and some VH1 on the ground around it, and I went and tucked myself in. I gave him 10 minutes to leave. I done some grunt sequences, rattled. Lindsay texted me. I picked my phone up and texted back, set it back down, looked up, and there's this 5.5-year-old 10 point, like 6 steps right in front of me, walking
Man.
straight to the decoy. And I had talked about it. I'm gonna pass this year. I'm gonna give him one more year. In that moment, it was like, dude, I got so excited. He was fishing to just destroy that decoy, and I'm like, I got like a 9 yard shot. There ain't no way I ain't about to shoot this deer. And
Right.
I shot him. He run out there, fell over, and it's one I'll never forget. And somebody's like, "You going to mount that deer? Because you got all of these." Because I've kind of quit doing shoulder mounts. Like
Right.
I
Yeah.
just ran out of space. I gave 56 mount. I don't even. I probably don't know should I even say this, but like I had a kid in my church. He's a young kid, and he has never been really out of Mississippi, and it's like, man, these are awesome bucks. So I took 56 mounts and euros and gave them to him and said, "Look,
Wow.
decorate, do whatever you want to do with them. This, I want you to just, whatever they're yours at this point, just
Right.
decorate, do whatever."
Wow.
And so people ask me, like, are you gonna mount this deer? And I'll tell you what I did. I literally cut the antlers off like rattling antlers, and I had everybody in camp sign it.
Sign it.
And I put, I'm gonna put them up like, and I'm gonna start hanging them in my office every year as just a memory that, hey, you know what? I will never forget this. The hunt was awesome, but this is who was in camp. Because
Right.
what I've seen is people that I've shared camp with over the years are no longer with us. And
Yeah.
it's just a good memory. It's just a good, but to answer your question, if I always try to hunt age first, but if I get excited and it's within the laws of that state, I'm laying the hammer down, man.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
laying the hammer
Well,
down.
and I would even say, because I feel a lot of the same way what you're talking about. But a lot of the places, it depends on where you go. Maybe it shouldn't be this way, but I find it to be this way. Like, depending on where you hunt, your age structure of what you'll shoot is different. Like, for an example, like this deer, wherever it's at, right over here, this one right here.
Yeah.
I can't get my bearings, but this one right here. This is a deer I killed down the road from my church. I had a farmer in my church gave me permission, me and my son, permission to hunt this place. Well, I'm hunting with a recurve, and I've been like this was last year, and all year I'm trying to kill a deer, a nice deer with my recurve, a nice buck. So I'm just going, I'm hunting, I'm seeing these deer, I'm seeing small bucks, I'm just not seeing what I want to shoot. So I'm sitting in there hunting, and I've got a bait pile right there, some corn and rice bran, which is very typical around here. But I'm not seeing anything but does and dinky bucks here and there. And so I'm hunting one evening, and I'd made up my mind I'm gonna shoot a doe. I said if a doe comes in, I'm gonna shoot one. I need some more meat. So and I see nothing. And I had been seeing does at this spot, and I see nothing, like nothing. I'm like, man, can't believe this. So I'm getting ready to leave, and it's right there getting that last light, and I hear a stick break. And I turn and look to my right, and I see this rack come walking in. And Chad, he walks 11 steps. And,
Oh my
and I
goodness.
draw back my bow and I shoot him. And he runs off. I see my Luminox shining out there. I hear a big crash, but I wasn't sure, like I'm just going to give him time. So I came back the next morning and I found that deer. That deer's 115 inches and he's probably a 3.5-year-old deer. But dude, I'm telling you, it's like I killed a 170-inch deer, and I'll take that every day just because of the story and of the feeling I got. And it's a nice deer around here for sure. So the age structure around here is, most of the time, well, a lot of people are killing year and a half, 2.5, or whatever comes out. But I'm trying to, if I see a really good 3.5-year-old deer, I'm gonna shoot him, because that's just what I'm gonna do. Now, do I kill? And a lot of people, and I think this is and you can help me understand this. Maybe you can answer this too, or chime in on it. But I think a lot of people think that if you put corn out, then you're able to just swack every big buck there is. But Chad, I've been hunting all my life around here, and corn and everything is a normal part of what we do. I don't know that I've killed hardly any big bucks on corn.
No, I'm gonna tell you this. I believe just opposite of that theory.
Yeah.
I think everybody feeding corn actually hurts your chances
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
killing a matured buck
Yeah.
because they don't have to move.
Right.
Because especially in the South,
Yep.
every person has got a corn pile or 12 corn piles
Yep.
on their property. So a buck don't have to get up and move
Right.
as far.
Yeah.
And so if you've got, for instance, if you've got a decent amount of doe or your doe and buck ratio is out of proportion, your bucks really don't have to move then. I mean, they literally probably can go from 20 to 100 yards and breed a doe. I know here where I'm at, I beg people to shoot does all the time. I don't want to shoot a doe. You got all these old timers that's just like anti-kill does. And I'm
Right.
like, if you kill does and you get that ratio like it needs to be or as close as you can get it, that's going to help your chances of killing a big buck. Number two, you keep the genetic line flowing in a
Right.
positive manner. You're going to continue to produce better bucks because genetically you're not having a near as much, interbreeding, or if you got does, it's got, because 80% of genetic comes from the doe.
Yeah.
And so, if you got bad genetics and you're not wiping those does with the bad genetics out, you're going to continue to have bad genetics. So I think feeding corn is a bad thing. I wish every state personally
Right.
would
Sure.
just outlaw it.
Yeah.
Make your food plot
Yeah.
because a deer's going to get way more nutrition out of a food plot than they're going to ever get out of a pile of corn.
Yeah.
And so eliminate the feeding, kill a lot of does, go to one buck system. And I'm speaking on behalf because I want everybody to kill a good buck. Like
Right.
I'm not the guy that I'm the only one that can kill a 200 incher. I don't want my
Right.
neighbor killing one. I want everybody to have the opportunity to kill,
Yeah.
whether you're 12 or whether you're 72. I want everybody to kill a good buck. Well, the way we do that, I think, is to eliminate the corn pile. So the guys that don't hunt over corn or not familiar with corn or being able to feed throughout season needs to realize it's not helping you at all. It's actually hurting you from being able to kill a mature buck.
Yeah.
Because, like you said, you've been able to feed in the South for a while, and I've run a lot of cameras, and I can tell you most of the biggest bucks I've ever killed, I never killed over a corn pile.
Right.
I
Right.
killed in the woods between as close to the bedding as I could get is where I've
Yeah.
killed the most mature bucks.
Yeah. I'll give you an example, and then I'm gonna ask you another question. But I'll give you an example of I used to be on a club in Mississippi, and that you couldn't bait back then. You couldn't bait in Mississippi. Well, now you can. But I'm telling you, when they changed that law, that club got worse. It got worse. The deer hunting got
Yep.
worse. They didn't kill as many. I got off of it for various reasons. I moved, but they didn't kill and they didn't see as many big bucks. They didn't kill as many big bucks as they did before they changed the law in Mississippi to be able to bait with corn.
Yep.
And I think it's because them deer had to move. I mean, they moved more, and I agree with you. And I don't want to, I've talked to this about I've talked about this with a lot of people, and I don't want to play the hypocrite here because I mean I'll go hunt over a corn pile too tomorrow if I got one down the
Sure.
road, you know. So, but I know that we can do that. But if I had my rathers, it would be exactly what you said. I would rather it be no baiting. I would rather you to do a 1 or 2 buck limit. And then I'm not even opposed to having like some antler restrictions on the deer that you can kill. I think for us in Louisiana, there's a lot of people that would like to do that. Of course, there's more that don't, but I think a lot of people would. But the thought of a kid not, according to our biologists and state people, the thought of a kid not being able to kill what he wants is one reason why they won't do that. But it goes along to, yeah, but he may not be able to kill what he wants, but he can kill a good one.
Yeah,
You'll be able to kill a
exactly.
better deer, and you'll have
And
more
here's the
of them.
thing. Yeah, because you could go say if you're 12 or under, kill whatever you want to kill.
Yeah,
What gets me is, and this is the part that like I get a little, it ruffles my feathers just a
get a
little
little
bit.
sideways.
Yeah, I get a little sideways, but people's like, well, my family and I, we live on deer meat the whole year. Well, shoot does.
Right. Yeah.
Don't shoot spikes and 4 points and
Yeah.
these 2 year old 8 points who are going to grow into something good, if they survive. Like, just shoot a bunch of does.
Yeah.
So, what I would love to see happen is you kill 2 does or 3 does, and before you can kill a buck, or you got to kill a doe before you kill a buck. I think some of that. So, and again, that's just a personal preference of mine. Again, I don't ever want to take an opportunity away from
Sure.
anybody,
Sure.
but I don't know a deer hunter on this planet that would say, man, I would rather shoot 12 3 points instead of killing 150-inch 10 point.
Right. Right. No, ain't nobody saying
Maybe I'm
that.
wrong, but
Well, I know this. I know that a lot of the states, like I'm just talking about people from Louisiana, and I'll even talk about myself. A lot of the states that we run off to hunt to are states that do the things that you're talking about doing. And we all run to hunt those states, and yet we won't do what's necessary in our state to do that same thing. And not only that, we have some game management areas here. There's one close to us. It's in Arkansas, but they have a rule to where you have to shoot a doe before you can kill a buck. And everybody talks about how, man, there's good bucks over there, man. You got to go hunt over there because there's big bucks over there.
really,
It's like that. I guess it makes a lot of sense. Okay, last question that I'm going to hit you with. Tell me, describe for me your best hunt. Like, walk me through quickly your bet. Like, give me some details, but walk me through the best hunt you had and why you were able to kill that deer.
man. Uh, I
I
got a
mean, if
lot.
you gave away 56 mounts, I know it's going to be tough for you to walk
Yeah,
through all those hunts.
yeah. There, man. I'm gonna be honest with you. I would say watching my kids be successful probably are my most favorite hunts.
Yeah.
My daughter, she killed a 170-inch deer during muzzleloader season one year when she was like 12 or 13. Kason, my youngest, when he was 5, he killed a 140-inch 10 point, and then Kobe, when he was like 7 or 8, killed a 158-inch 8 point. So those were all great, but I will say this, like, I'm gonna say recently, my most memorable hunt was probably uh well, man, for me
Right.
personally. Again, my kids, Kobe killed a 180-inch in Kansas last year.
Yeah.
He's actually gonna be sharing that hunt. It did not go to Midwest Whitetail. So he is going, or we didn't utilize that hunt in Chase in November. So he is going to be airing that. He edited it himself. But
Right.
so that'll be coming up. So I'll let you know when that airs
Yeah.
here in the next little bit. But for me, I guess for me personally, my favorite hunt would have been 2 years ago in Illinois. Kaysen, he thought he wanted to start filming. And for me, with Midwest Whitetail, I've never taken an intern. When we bring them in, most time we let them stay with the guys in Iowa. It's just more convenient. It works better. And
Sure.
I've had the opportunity to have one, but my schedule was just totally different and it didn't work out. So a lot of times I have to either self film or try to work it out with somebody else. Comes with cases like, I'll film you. I said, okay, all right. So we loaded up and it was the last day of bow season before the shotgun opener.
Mm-hmm.
And he and I went in, and this hunt was actually on last year's Chase in November. But we sit there all morning, seen a couple of does, and it was just dead. And I was like, "Look, man, I'm getting hungry. You know, fat boy got to eat. Let's climb down, and then we'll find a place to hunt this afternoon." Well, we climbed down. I got all my stuff together. I take like 4 steps and I cannot hear. Like my hearing is terrible at this point. And Casey's like, "Don't move, don't move. Here comes some bucks chasing a doe." And I'm like, "Where, man? Quit lying." He's like, "Get down." And he drops down. I thought he was messing with me, of course. And so I squatted down, and sure enough, here they come running down the holler right to us. And we're on the ground. I mean, just sitting on the ground. And I knock an arrow real quick, and because I don't know what kind of bucks they are. I just know that they're grunting and they are on her wide open.
Right.
And he gets his camera out. He's holding his camera up, and the deer runs up like 7 steps and just
Golly.
stops, slobber hanging out of his mouth. And then I shoot him, off the ground, and he runs over there 20 yards, falls over dead, and I think that probably is the most memorable hunt recently
Right.
for me personally, just because we were on the ground, the deer action was so close, it happened so fast, it all came together perfectly. And then the next day, Kaysen killed, self films him shooting a 10 point opener shotgun, and then I killed a 9.5-year-old buck that we had on the farm the same evening. So that's
Wow.
probably the most memorable hunt recently that I've had. But man, I've had so many. I mean, the deer over my shoulder here. I've been fortunate enough to kill, one over 200 and two in the 190s, and those, of course, were
Sure.
memorable hunts. But
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I think that one probably recently is the most memorable.
Isn't it amazing? And I suppose the strategy on that is number one, be hungry and get down and go get something to eat. But number two, and probably more important, is you never know when it's the rut what in the world is fixing to happen. That a big buck would run up on you while you're standing up on the ground, close enough for you to shoot with a bow. I mean, what are the odds of that happening except in the rut?
That's it. It's wild, man. And I tell people all the time, if you hunt like Illinois, this upcoming week might be my favorite. Like this week we're in right now.
Yeah.
What is today's date? The 18th?
Today is a 18th. Yeah.
Yeah.
18th.
I would say the week leading into that first shotgun season, if you hunt Illinois or you hunt in that general area, it's the best week because most of your does have been bred, but there's a few does that hadn't, and every mature buck in the country is trying to get that last doe.
Right.
And so your odds of mature bucks are going to be greater this week than I feel like any other week. And I love to hunt the first week of October, but I'm telling you, if I could only pick one week, it's the week leading up to the first shotgun season in Illinois.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've
And
had
you
more success.
yeah, and you've got a lease in y'all have got lease in Illinois, is that correct?
Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
for about the last 20 years, I've kept a lease in Illinois, either in Missouri or Kansas.
Yeah.
So I've hunted those states for about the last 20 years,
Yeah.
and
Hey,
they've been really good,
now
good to me.
You and Mike Reed, y'all have a lease in Kansas, is that right? Am I
Yeah, I had the lease a couple years prior to Mike
Yeah.
getting in on it, and then
Yeah.
one year, which would have been 2 years ago, I think, Mike got in with me on it for one year, but it
Okay.
was just so far away from him. And of course, he lives in Iowa, and so I don't think it really made a lot of sense. But Bella was able to kill a deer on that lease,
Yeah.
and the crate. Unfortunately, that lease just sold, so
Oh,
I'm
wow.
gonna have to find me a I'll have to find me a new Kansas lease. I'm
Yeah.
actually looking. I got a good friend of mine who owns property there, and he's got an 80-acre section that I may be looking to purchase from him
Yeah.
in the near future
Yeah.
because he's got another piece he's looking to buy. And the great thing about Kansas, if you own 80 acres, you can get a landowner's tag even if you're non-resident. So
Right.
that's good
Yeah, no doubt.
because it's
Well, I
getting harder and harder to
Oh
get
yeah, yeah.
tags.
And I just like this year was my last year to do Kansas for a while. I mean, I can still
Hmm.
go back and hunt if I get a tag and I want to, because my friend has the place and we've got several little spots that we've been leasing. But I got to the point to where, number one, I'm looking at a piece of property to buy in Arkansas that's in a really good spot, 2.5 hours from me. So I'm excited about that. But then also, I put in for an Iowa preference point, and I'm wanting to do some different hunts that I just can't afford to do if I'm always doing the Kansas deal. So I'm like, well, I've been in Kansas for 8 years. It's been a good run. I've had an awesome time. The biggest deer I ever killed with my recurve, I killed in Kansas, 143-inch 8 point. So it's been special, but I want to do something different. I really want to try to go to Iowa. And I figure since I know enough guys up in Iowa that I'll at least be able to have some state ground that they can throw me on or something and let me
Right.
know. But I put in for a preference point. I'm gonna try to do that for a few years and hopefully get drawn to go hunt there. So I would love to do that. I would love to go on a mule deer stalk hunt. So there's just a couple of things that I want to do before I get to a place in my life where I feel like I can't do those sort of things.
Right.
Um, so so kind of sad about not being on the Kansas thing, but at the same time excited about other opportunities.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely, man.
Yeah. I'm really
Absolutely.
excited about this little piece of property in Arkansas that I'm looking at because it's positioned in a really, really, really good spot that I feel like I can hold a few deer on this little place, but at the same time, it's along a major creek that the deer travel consistently. And the guys that are in that area says to me that you never know when a 160, 170 might come down and step out on you. You just have no idea because they travel it so much. So
Right.
I'm excited about that.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's
Yeah.
awesome. I'm looking forward to hearing more about that piece.
Yeah. Of course, I'll be video and all that. You know how it is. But
Ain't no
well,
doubt.
well, man, it's been good talking with you. And I hope the folks will enjoy that. Is there anything that you would like to share as far as updates on Midwest Whitetail, anything coming down the pike, whatever? I mean, I know you guys have been laying the hammer down on big bucks. I've been watching all of that, and I did know that y'all had a great end of October because I've heard a couple of guys say chasing October instead of chasing November. So, but anything coming up? I mean, is anything or just the
Yeah,
norm?
I mean, really, just the norm. You got a lot of good episodes in the making. So, just be tuning into that and be looking forward to that. I'm already excited to see how Gavin puts together next year's Chasing November because it's gonna be epic, man. It's gonna be
Yeah,
one of those deals that I think it could be the best ever. And that's
yeah,
saying a lot. That's saying a lot. But I
yeah,
really believe that it possibly this year probably could be the best ever. So yeah, man, I think I think things are lining up really well as we continue to head into the middle part and the end of November. So I'd say just be on the lookout for updates. If you don't follow us on social media, take the time to subscribe to our YouTube channel or follow us on TikTok or Facebook or Instagram. We try to, keep people up to date through those things. And then we've got, on YouTube, a lot of people don't realize this, but we've got three channels, right? We've got Midwest Whitetail, we've got The Chase, which is kind of a daily update with some of the guys on the main team. And then we've got the regional channel that you and I were talking about at the beginning of the podcast. So if they don't, if you didn't realize that, go check them out. There's always some good content. I think you always learn a little something. I know I do each
yeah.
and every week, or at least make you think, hey man, it can spark some new thoughts for you. So
Sure.
check those things out. And like we said, most importantly, man, it ain't about what we love as far as the outdoors. It's about who we love and the relationship that we have, and that's Jesus. So
Hey,
prioritize him and everything else to take care of the rest. But no, I
yeah,
appreciate you having me on here, Casey. And
yeah.
as always, man, I enjoy our conversations and just excited about what the Lord's doing in Louisiana for you and excited about what he's doing over here across the state line in Mississippi with us. And so I think the best is still yet to come, my friend.
Amen to that, brother. Absolutely. And I can say this for anybody that is listening. I know without a doubt, if you have any questions whatsoever, about deer hunting, we'll do our best to try to answer the questions about that. But if you have even better questions, which are those that are concerning a relationship with the Lord Jesus Christ, I know myself or Chad, either one, would love to talk to you about that. So if you want to message us, whatever, we'd be happy to talk to you about that too. But anyway, I appreciate the opportunity this morning to visit with you, my friend. It's been a good one, and we will sign off for the morning. All right? Thanks for being here,
All
brother.
right, brother. Thank you.